You got to
Oh,
do it. You caught me going like that.
that's okay. Hi, everybody. This is on Candid Camera. Tamara and Ruth here for your weekly energy update. Um, Actually, what we were doing was a little interpretive dance for the energy this week because
That's right.
today is August 31st, 2017, the last day of August here. And it's kind of a hot week, isn't it, Ruth?
Yes, it is. And I guess that's what I was doing. I was kind of putting my tuners
Yeah.
up,
Yes.
because with Mercury moving back into Leo, and we got
Yeah.
Mars sitting on Mercury's heels, and we have Uranus saying, "Hey, it's over. I'm over here. Let's all get this party started," because that's really what we're looking at. Let's get this party started with all of this hot
Yeah,
energy.
that's interesting. We also have Jupiter square Pluto, so we might
Hmm.
talk about what that feels like this week. And so, where should we start? Well, certainly Mercury moving into Leo is kind of is it a are we being cautioned to think before we speak this week? Is that kind of a fiery, like, because, when Mercury's in a fire sign, you just, something comes to your mind and you just spark it out.
And I think that's a very good description,
Yeah.
that we need to reference back to the prior energy of Virgo and stay centered. That, I think, that may be the most important thing, is even with all of this hot, quote unquote, we always say hot air going on around us.
Yeah.
Personally, I think we need to say, wait a minute, hold on, and just stay centered. Key word is staying centered.
Yeah, it's interesting because tomorrow begins a whole new month, the month of September, and the theme so for August the theme has been power and how to
Mhm.
stay in your power on the radio show Elements of Wisdom. And this is, I guess, a sneak peek, but September is going to be consciousness is the theme.
Oh, okay.
And it's so interesting because you can feel an energy, but it's the consciousness with which you express it that sort of determines the result of whatever that is. And so it's always so interesting, isn't it? Each week we have these different planetary energies pulling different parts of us. Some people love the fire energy, some people love the water energy, and some people love the earth. And it's really just how you put the puzzle together for yourself, inside yourself, each week of life. Life is really different than it used to be, like in the 70s right now, don't you think?
Well, I think life itself is eternal, and it is just life. It's
Yeah.
us. We it's our perspective and interpretation
Mhm.
of what has gone on and what continues to go on. So um, I think it's really important, again, to embody life and to narrow it down a little bit, because we're still sun in Virgo. We still have that Virgo energy. It's just not as evident because we have the more flamboyant energy of the fire signs.
Yes. Yes, we do. And, when I said that, really what I meant was the pace of life, I believe, has changed, at least from my internal experience of energy, and the pace at which I'm required to adjust myself to the energies really feels different than it did when I was a kid. Um, I grew up in the country, and my mother half of the time would not allow us to have a television in the house because she felt it got rid of our creativity. And so her rule was, the minute the kids start fighting over programs or the channel, she would take it and put it in the closet. And then she would always give the TV to somebody, and we'd be like, what? And then sometimes, I guess we would eventually have another television. And then until she saw that we were giving ourselves over to this box, creatively, just it was just taking our power. And she would you know there were all kinds of rules and sanctions in our house around television watching. So I do feel that we have an information overload situation right now.
I agree.
That's kind of more
I
what I
agree
meant.
with you. Yes, I agree with you in terms of the overload, the energy, just so much. In an interesting way, it's almost consumerism. We have so much that we can get. But the real question, again, I refer back to personally, how much is relevant to each one of us? And that's what we have to decide,
Yeah.
as opposed to what is being marketed to this week or last week. In the 70s, we just didn't have as much stuff.
That's right. That's
Uh-huh.
right. We didn't have as much stimulation, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And as much distraction for our minds. It was easier to know. I can remember, I don't know why we're going down this road right now, but I guess this is where we're going. I can remember, well, I mean, obviously, we had phones with cords to the wall, and there's this funny, I don't know if I already told this story, but my mother recently revealed to me, she was born in 1940, and she said when she was a kid, she remembered that they had a crank phone with no numbers, and that it was a party line with 33 families.
Wow.
So when you wanted to, and everybody had a code. Isn't this amazing? And she
It
never told
is.
this to me before. I was like, oh my God, this is really old stuff. And she said, she lived out in the country on a ranch, and she said that, you had like 3011 was your code, or no, it was a crank thing. So it was 1122. Short, long. And she said that all the old maids in town, when anyone made a phone call, would be picking up the phone and listening to the conversations. And then her father would be like, Agnes, get off. Mary Lou, off. Everybody get off the phone. I'm trying to call New York.
That's funny. That really is hilarious.
But just the sort of one foot in front of the other was more the tone of things. So this week we have Jupiter square Pluto. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that brings up the reason that we're kind of going down memory lane.
Yeah.
Now remember, Capricorn, Pluto's in Capricorn, that would take us back to the past, because Capricorn is all about tradition and what, to some extent, what used to be. So I can see that. And don't we have a lot of marketing around nostalgia these days? Many of the retro, you can turn on, what about cassette tapes coming back into use? Now that is a Capricorn idea to make money, but it's using nostalgia to do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Jupiter, just for a little bit longer, we have Jupiter in Libra, and, that sort of, Capricorn can be a little mercenary, and, Libra is always trying to make sure everything's good for everybody, not
That's
just
right. Absolutely. Make everybody a winner.
Would that be part of the tension that we're seeing with that square?
Because it, just like you said, Jupiter and Sagittarius wants everybody to have, well, it's in Libra, but I'm saying it, it's guide, it rules.
Yeah, Jupiterian.
And it wants everybody to have a piece of the pie. It wants to be expansive, whereas Pluto and Capricorn wants to pull in. So of course you have this square. They want to say, okay, I'm going to exclusively have the rights to nostalgia and retro, and we're going to make a lot of money. But then Jupiter says, hey, let's make this equal between everybody, since it's in Libra. So yes, I can understand that.
Well, so, we have this sort of combustible aspect. That's something that you mentioned before we started today. And is that related to the Mars and Uranus, in your opinion, or?
Well, anytime you have Mars, see, because you got Mars in Leo, that says, okay, we all need to be out here. And then we have Mercury, again, going into Leo. So we have to be thoughtful. I think part of what's going on with this whole situation, because we're going to encounter each other, all with Jupiter in Libra, means that there's going to be some kind of grouping of one kind or another.
Yeah.
And we need to be mindful. I think the key word is to be mindful when you open your mouth. And you got the sun in Virgo, and Virgo doesn't want to cause any waves per se, but you've got these fire energies that are saying, and then with Uranus in Aquarius, not Aquarius, I don't want to put that on Aquarius, Aries,
Yeah.
saying, look, everybody, let's get something really going here. So yes, you have this situation. So the key word, mindful and thoughtful.
Well, and I think still there's a positive energy flow with Uranus and Saturn. So
Yes.
which
Mhm.
I feel is continuing to promote and support us in making changes, because Uranus is all about the revolution, and whatever that can be a very small revolution, like embracing butter, or it can be anything where you just, but it's something that's a change and it will move you out of your comfort zone. But I feel like that supportive energy flow allows us to feel like it's okay for us to move forward in change-making ways, whatever those are for each of us watching.
Well, with Saturn sitting in, I think it's about 21 degrees Sag, it's looking both ways in terms of bringing some reality testing to both the Uranus expansion and radicalizing everything, and then looking back at the other side with Mars sitting in Leo, and it's basically saying, now, wait a minute, we need to take a little bit of time here and decide what's really advantageous for you and for everybody else.
Yeah.
And that'll keep the fire energy from just totally, for everybody imploding. We don't want to implode ourselves, because we just came out of the eclipse, and when we're talking about that boiler, last week we mentioned that it felt like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
If we take these energies, we could create that same kind of pressure cooker situation in this week.
Well, let's look at some cards for remedies for just how to process. Well, one of the things I want to say is if unexpected events occur this week, that may be exactly what these cards are for. Because one of the things that I've gotten is, and these are the Aboriginal Goddess Chakra cards. You and I chose the same deck this day.
Yes, we did.
Emotional response. And to me, this is, I'll tell you what my reading of this visual image is that our emotional responses are like jewels. And we want to see, where do we want to keep how do we want those who deserves our jewels, who does not, don't cast your pearls before the wrong crowd, etc. And where are you spending your emotional energy?
And this is interesting, because Tamara and I did not consult.
We did not plan our outfits.
No,
or
and
our
we
car.
got the same. And so I'd say what you just said is so important, to know how you're going to communicate in an effective way, as opposed to just going off the cuff.
Yeah, and that this is a precious part of you. And also, I'm just going to say that there are things in the world, entities, I'm not just specific individuals, but there are orchestrations afoot sometimes to get your emotional response, whether it's from advertising, a commercial that you see on television, or something in the news, or a person that's trying to manipulate your emotional response. So if that's happening to you this week, hold that as precious to you. And I also got spiritual ascension. And I think what I want to say about this is, even if we're hitting some rocky moments, rough waters, just remember that this is what's happening.
That's right. It's an evolutionary process
Yeah.
that may seem kind of highbrow, but it's not really, because all of life is always transforming. I have the other side to that. Ceridwen,
Ceridwen?
Ceridwen.
Yeah.
And she is the goddess of transformation, going right along with the spiritual ascension card, that each one of us is a divine, and actually we're being collectively and individually, I think we're being reborn. You see, we have to go in, and the goddesses deal with the moon aspect, going into the depths of self. And that's the only way we can be born. We can't be born in the light. We have to be born and incubate in the quiet, illumined darkness.
Right, which is not the most popularized, it's not popular in our culture, is dark. Light is, we're all about light and being, and solar consciousness, but lunar consciousness is very important. Another thing I wanted to mention, Ruth, is there may be events this week. This is a third chakra. Well, actually, it's a second chakra card.
Yes, it is. This is second chakra card. Mm-hmm.
And this is sort of that gut, it's abdominal though, it's that level of response that's just like, but the place to find freedom is through the 8th chakra, which isn't even in the body. It's up here. I mean, I think maybe technically I'm not sure how she's designed this, but it's definitely above the crown chakra. And so we need to connect. And it's funny, we're both wearing white today, because that going up to the crown and above the crown is where you're going to find yourself aware of the reality of spiritual ascension for you, which is that peace of mind this week. And then the third card I got it's actually a
Tamara, before you have your third card, I want to say something about this. Part of ascending and using this part of the self is often done through creativity, because the second chakra is the seat of our very, we say sexual energy, but it's the life energy force that comes through, and it's about creativity. So if we, a remedy could be doing something that embodies that creativity, taking that fire energy, because we still got a sizable amount of Leo energy, and creating something and sharing that creation with other people.
Well, and that is a great example, Ruth, of what we were saying earlier, that your emotional response is like, it's like jewels coming in a cup.
That's right.
It's very precious. And so if you decide not to give your emotional response as a reaction, but instead turn it into creation, you are owning that as something precious about you. You're saying, I'm going to give this emotional energy to this creative thing. I think that's a wonderful remedy, creativity, in the face of what sometimes we feel like other people are creating the whole world for us instead of ourselves doing it. But in fact, that's an illusion. We are creating a world, our world. And I got also the goddess Freya, who is the goddess apparently of love and fertility. This is a root chakra. And one of the things I want to say about this as a remedy this week is both about finding tribe or like-minded people, or people who just make you feel good in your body, and help you feel more grounded. It's interesting because these two cards are opposite ends of the spectrum. One is above, one is below, but they're both important. And it's almost like taking care of yourself by putting some attention up here, but also some attention on your grounding this week.
And I think that's really, can you hold those two cards up?
Yeah.
I think that's really important, because what happens, there are some people who want to totally be, quote unquote, in the spiritual realm, but don't want to connect on the earth plane.
Yeah.
And it becomes very essential to connect on this plane, because this is where we live. But we also have to embody and bring forth that spiritual sole purpose at the
I would
same
even
time.
I would even say this week, if some events make you feel unsafe, I would focus more on your grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And if things make
Mm-hmm.
you feel more stuck or like you're trapped, I would focus more upward.
Absolutely. Lovely way of putting it. Yes, absolutely.
That was our timer. um, yeah, I mean, very interesting times. And
Something that just occurred to me is to encourage all of us to go out and play a little bit. Use this fire energy truly. If you love playing baseball, well, go out and play baseball. If you want to work in your art journal, work in your art journal, or go dig, begin to do the work that needs to be done for the garden for next spring, because fall is on its way.
that's
So
true. It's
go
choke
and
cherry
play.
season here, and it's that's another grounding thing you can do is, like you said, gardening or something, cooking or something where you're like berry picking, which I'm going to be doing very soon. So those are really excellent suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to invite everyone to the radio show tomorrow, 12radio.com, 10 a.m. Pacific. We're beginning a whole new month. And the theme is consciousness and ways to use your consciousness that you may not have thought of. So I hope you can join me there. And Ruth, what do you have going on?
Well, you can get me at soulsoundinsights.com, and I'll be having my soul sound sessions on September 6th, the full moon. So I invite everybody to come on over to my session. You can link up on my website again at soulsoundinsights.com.
I love that name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's it. And of course, we welcome you to, if you like what you see, please like the channel, please subscribe below. You can leave a comment, and you can contact each of us at the links below that I always put in here. So have a wonderful week, everyone, and enjoy being grounded and uplifted.
Thank you, everybody. See you.